House, where U.S. President Donald Trump has signed tariffs on imports from Canada, Mexico and China.
We start in the U.S., where President Donald Trump is sending 1,500 troops to the Mexican border to boost security.
We understand vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico, and as you know, also
U.S. President Donald Trump is delaying tariffs on imports from Mexico for a month. It's President Claudia Shin Bal says. She spoke to Trump on the phone earlier today and told
Claudia Shin Bal, Mexico's president, stood firmly before the people of her nation, swathed in the pride and resilience that had carried her country through many tests of history. Her words, "We will not accept Trump tariffs," echoed across Mexico City's Zocalo Square, igniting an effervescent wave of unity and determination among the thousands gathered. Flags waved vigorously, chants filled the air, and banners adorned with slogans like "Mexico is united" rippled in the breeze. But beyond the public spectacle, what led Mexico to score this significant diplomatic victory against the U.S., postponing Donald Trump's formidable tariffs, was a masterful display of negotiation, strategy, and brinkmanship, and Shin Bal was at the heart of it. To understand how Mexico prevailed, we must first revisit the stakes and tensions that led to this showdown. Trump's threats to impose a 25% tariff on Mexican exports to the U.S., from automotive parts to agricultural goods, loomed heavily over Mexico's economy. The United States is Mexico's largest trading partner, with over 80% of its exports heading north. The tariffs promised to disrupt supply chains across North America, push Mexican industries to the brink of collapse, and perhaps even plunge the country into recession. Moreover, the move was not just an economic weapon, it was a political maneuver tied to Trump's hardline stance on immigration. His message was clear: if Mexico didn't curb migrants crossing the border, his administration would escalate economic warfare. Here's where Claudia Shin Bal entered the fray. Shin Bal, a rising figure in Mexican politics driven by social justice and science-based leadership, was already known for her cool-headed approach to conflict. As a left-leaning politician and former mayor of Mexico City, she had built her reputation on advocating for equity while tackling tough problems. Now, as the national leader, she stood as the voice of resilience, declaring, "If tariffs come, we will respond in kind." But Shin Bal didn't act impulsively, nor resort immediately to retaliatory measures. Instead, she used diplomacy, a calculated yet firm effort to protect Mexico's interests. With tensions high, Shin Bal coordinated her strategy behind closed doors alongside Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and key business leaders. Her team drafted an extensive list of retaliatory tariffs targeting U.S. goods, focusing sharply on sectors where American producers are dependent on Mexican imports: avocados, tomatoes, beer steel, and even agricultural products vital to Trump's voter base. But while the retaliation list made its headline splash, Shin Bal's quieter arm of diplomacy worked behind the scenes. Her team leveraged relationships with U.S. corporations, congressional allies, automakers, and farmers groups, warning them that a tariff-induced trade war would lead to widespread price hikes and factory shutdowns, a lose-lose outcome for both nations. At the same time, Shin Bal employed her measured rhetoric with the public, balancing defiance with optimism. At a massive rally in Mexico City, she proclaimed, "Dialogue and respect are instrumental in stopping the United States tariffs. But if they test us again, we will respond." Her ability to maintain composure while rallying a nation became a defining moment in her political career. With approval ratings soaring to over 80%, Shin Bal galvanized the Mexican populace, transforming fear into national pride. The turning point, according to insiders, came from a single phone call, a direct conversation between Shin Bal and Donald Trump himself. Contrary to Trump's combative reputation, the call reportedly revealed his own concerns about the economic fallout for U.S. industries reliant on Mexican supply chains. Automotive leaders warned that tariffs on Mexican goods could halt production across North America, disrupting jobs and profitability. Farmers in Trump-approved states like Texas and California cautioned that Mexico's retaliatory taxes would decimate their crops' exportability. With U.S. elections looming, Trump faced mounting pressure to reconsider. 2 days after the call, Trump's administration announced it would postpone the tariffs, a move hailed in Mexico as a triumph. "We defended our national pride, we did not cave in, and we showed them that Mexico will not be taken lightly," Shin Bal declared triumphantly, celebrating with euphoric crowds in the Zocalo Square. While the reprieve was temporary, set to last until April, the announcement provided breathing room for Mexican producers to regroup, and galvanized public support for Shin Bal's leadership. But why did Shin Bal's approach ultimately work? Analysts point to several factors. First, Shin Bal's refusal to escalate tensions prematurely ensured Mexico didn't play into a trap of rash retaliatory actions. Her core philosophy, keeping a cool head under external pressure, proved essential in a negotiation environment fraught with uncertainty. Second, by targeting her response to vital sectors like agriculture and automotive goods, Shin Bal made it clear that retaliatory measures would directly impact Trump's voter base, a risk the US president was unwilling to gamble on during an election cycle. Third, Shin Bal countered Trump's bombastic rhetoric with her own measured resolve, shifting the narrative from hostility to diplomatic professionalism. Yet, amidst the celebrations, complexities remain. While the tariffs were postponed, they weren't erased entirely. Trump could easily reintroduce them later under the same framework of immigration pressure, potentially evolving into a second round of negotiations and resistance. Shin Bal, however, was already preparing for this possibility. In press briefings, she reassured Mexicans saying, "We are ready for round 2, just as we were for round 1. Mexico will always act with dignity and strength." Beyond economic negotiations, Shin Bal's handling of US-Mexico relations has also highlighted ideological differences between the two leaders, particularly on migration. Trump's vision of a massive border wall and his expectation that Mexico act as a migrant gatekeeper clashed with Shin Bal's emphasis on dignity and human rights. While Mexico tightened enforcement in some areas, Shin Bal remained clear. "We are not here to police migrants for another country. Mexico has its own values and those values guide our policies." Despite international political praise, Shin Bal's growing popularity has ignited electoral speculation. Many analysts say this diplomatic victory has cemented Shin Bal as one of Mexico's strongest presidential candidates for the upcoming 2026 elections. Her image as a woman leader unapologetically standing up to Trump's aggressive tactics resonates both domestically and abroad, earning her comparisons to global political icons. But critics warn of potential populism, questioning whether her fiery rhetoric could overshadow more substantive economic and social reforms. For now, Mexico is basking in the glow of victory. The streets of Mexico City remain vibrant with celebrations from small-scale sectors saved by the deal automakers resumed full operations, tomato exporters avoided devastating losses, and avocados, an icon of Mexican pride, flow freely across the border. Mexico avoided recession, sustained key industries, and perhaps most importantly, asserted its sovereignty. Still, questions linger. Will Trump backtrack on his postponement as election pressures mount? Will Mexico face another round of threats and tariffs, testing Shin Bal's resolve once again? Or will cautious diplomacy prevail, preserving economic stability between the two nations? One thing is certain, Claudia Shin Bal has proven she's not just an emerging figure in politics, but a leader capable of positioning Mexico as an assertive force on the global stage. For now, her words ring loud across Mexico. If they come at us again, we'll respond the same way. But whether these words will deter future conflicts, only time will tell. Stay tuned for updates on this dynamic story. For now, Mexico celebrates, Shin Bal shines, and the world watches.